Hey guys, what's up? My name is Eagle Vision and this is Recreating Doom Synthesizer Part 2. Now, first of all, please accept my apology for my bad English. Sometimes I stuck. And this is a very complicated thing, and maybe sometimes I lost myself into these audio inputs and things like that. But if you haven't already watched the Part 1, let's just listen to the sound to get what's going on. Alright, that's the sound, and this is just a few resampled stuff, and I'm going to get you through the original sound. And as I said, maybe I'm going to lost in the whole audio inputs and things like that, because it's a very complicated thing. Now, first thing first, here's this audio input, which I call this main sound, for you to not confusing, not anybody to make anybody confused. There is this massive, and it by itself it sounds like this. Not you, I told you, just this. Yeah, it sounds like this. After that, there is this audio input. Now, this audio input, why I call this audio input, because it takes the signal from my main sound. All right. Now, these two are bypassed. It's not very important. What's happening over here? I'm going to show you is it wasn't necessary. I'm going to show you what's going on over this sound. All right. Now, first thing first, there is this amplitude. Jesus, it's the best thing. Now, after Mick GDC conference, I went through all these guitar pedals things, and I don't have any hardware things, and you know it's very hard to get them. And then I found out this amplitude. This is awesome. It simulates the guitar pedals in a very best way. Now, it's not perfect as the hardware, but it's awesome. Let me show you, and it's totally worth it. Every penny, every dollar that you spend on this. First thing first, there is this. Let me just bypass all of this together, and then show you what's going on. Alright, as you can see, there are tons of patterns happening over here, and there's this audio coming in, and then it goes to the stomp A, and then go in stomp B, and then amp, and then there's this cabinet, and this is simulating for you the whole cabinet. And you know, there are two microphones that you can change the position, and I didn't change that. And there is this room ambient. You can change it to here rooms ambient, and you know it's awesome. As you can see, there are tons of other patterns to make it parallel and things like that, but over here I choose just the simply number 1, which is a type of series. It goes from stomp A to stomp B, and then. As you can see over here, it's a routine map. It's not very complicated. Now, when I add any sound to this, you can hear what's happening over the sound. I choose this preset. It's not a preset I've created. This is a sine wave, and I've added a punch over this. If you haven't already watched my sound design tutorial, go and check them out, because they're very helpful over this. And I've created this. There's a sine wave, and there's this second oscillator to control the scream. Now, Mick Gordon's tried to make those screams using the guitar pedals. I don't have them, and I couldn't find any, so I started to finding out the other way to recreate that, and that's this. You can do any other things, choose any other wavetable and just put a envelope over the pitches, but I prefer to choose this plus and saw sync, and using this sync you can change the pitch. And then there is this white noise, and all of them goes to a distortion. And yeah, I know it's already sounded like something. It's not very pure, it's not very single, it's not like a single harmony stuff, but I couldn't go through anything better than this, so I've made something. I actually pre-made a sound, and still I have tons of things happening over my digital audio workstation, the DAW, and still it's very complicated. Now imagine if I go through the effects and do all of this in amplitude and things like that and automation, that would be very hard. Now sorry for that. Now Mick Gordon's GDC, and he explained that he uses hardware, and when you use hardware, it's very handy to recreate to change sound, because all you do is touching knobs with 2 hands, and you can find what's going on over there, and you can actually record 4 lines in a parallel. But in digital audio workstation, when you want to change the sound, you need to change this and close this and go to this and then open this and then change that and then close this, and it takes a long time to do that. So actually I didn't make the way Mick Gordon create the sound exactly the same way he did. Sorry for that. I don't know how to explain this. Alright, let's go through the sound, and when I add my second chain, you can hear what's happening over there by adding these elements. Now from now on, you can understand there are tons of harmonic added to the sound that makes it special, right? And they're not very hard to make. Actually, all I did was just finding which one is better and find out the stereo, the way I should put them next to each other. After that, the amp happening. Now this amp is Jesus. This is awesome. When I turn this on, you can hear the whole magic happen. Now this is the reason that you can make any unique sound over this amp. And what I did over here was routing this reverb knob to this micro, and every time a sound started, a note started to play, I made an automation that the reverb becomes up and then it disappears. After that, there is this reverse reverb, which is my rec I've created before. Now I'm not sure if you know about the parallel things like that, chain and things like that. I've pre-made it. It's a pre-made rack that I've created before. Now I call this reverse reverb because I use this as a reverse reverb. As you can, it's pretty obvious. Things happening over here is this, if you want to see what's going on. And if you don't know how to create one of those rackies, parallel rackies, just go and Google it. And there's this 2 ODT. Can you imagine this? I've added ODT over my reverb, but it's awesome. And when I turn this on, you can hear what's happening. Kind of make it more like a hybrid sound and make it more wider. Now after that, there's this compressor. It's not very hard to understand a compressor. The ratio is on 10. That's the only thing that you need to keep in mind, and it's way too much hard compressing, and it works on this, so trust me. And yeah, that's the first chain. Okay, now the next part is way more complicated. Now what I'm trying to tell you is about the feedback. Now it's very complicated because the routing is not actually showing over here, but I'm trying to make it more easier to understand that. Now there's this, I have 2 feedback. Okay, I'm going to explain one of them, and the same process happens to the other one. First one is this feedback decimal. Now I'm going to turn this on. they are kind of connected to each other, because there's a reason I turned the other one on. The feedback decibel over here taking the signal from the main sound. Okay, this is the first. After that, there are tons of process happening over here. Now, first thing first, I've added an amp in this. Okay, and I've did it anything. This one is just bypass it. After that, there's this another amplitude, and I've turned that beat crusher, and I've turned that amp off. Now the beat crusher, the reason I've created that beat crusher is because I want to create those decibel sound. Now decibel recreate that kind of sound. Every time I change this decibel, I get different kind of sound of this that kind of thing. Now let's just hear that, and I'm changing that, and you can hear what's happening over there. After that, I'm going to explain the whole routing. Sorry if I just Now I think you get how it works. Every time I change this, I get different sounds. The reason why I add beat crusher after the amp is because I don't want to make any effect on put any effect on the beat crusher and change it. After that, there's this reverb again and sidechain compressing. Now the sidechain compressing is very simple. I sidechain this this audio input from the main sound, so every time the main sound hits, it will disappear, and after the main sound start to going off, the feedback comes in. Now how to create this feedback? First thing first, there is this audio input which is feedback decibel, and then there's this send fix. Now it's very hard to create in DAW, creating a feedback, and then the whole audio goes from this feedback goes to this send effects. Okay, there are a compressing happening over there, and there is another sidechain compressing happening over there. You can copy and see what's happening over the compression stuff, and then the output of this send effects we go again back to this feedback decibel. Now as you can see, there is a feedback which call it, this is a loop. The audio goes to this, and after that it goes to this. Okay, and this, and every time the output of this one will be the resample feedback decibel, which is this. Now the reason why I did that is because I couldn't just record from this. I had to take another route and add Edison to start recording. The reason why I add Edison is because you can record 4 lines in a same time in Ableton. Now the same process happens over another feedback. Now as you can see, there is another feedback which is called the reverb feedback for me, but it's just a FB, and there is a reverb. Okay, I'm going to turn this one off and just listen to the feedback. Now the volume are the in the lowest, it's like minus 62. Just keep that in mind, but this one is minus 37, and yeah, let's just listen to this. Now as you can see, the chain effects over here is something totally different. Now I'm going to show you what's happening over there, but I'm not going to do a reverse engineering. It's like the same thing, except I just turn it off the chorus and turn off EQ, and I turn on the wow, and after that there's a distortion. I don't know why I did that, but there is a reason for that. And then there is this reverb. There is no automation over this, except there's no automation on this, and it goes to this reverse reverb again, and then the sidechain compressing, and then this frequency shifter. Now I couldn't recreate that kind of sound that Mick Gordon has created, so I found it in my own way. So every time I change this frequency shifter, my reverb will sound something different. Now let's just listen to that again, and I'm trying to change the sound. Yes, that. Now you can find it. It's very fun, right? You can add anything after each other. You just need to kind of find out what's happening over your sound and how to do this and how to do that. I couldn't recreate the same way Mick Gordon did, but I found my own way to recreate that. And all of them together gives you something like this that I've started to resampling. Okay, on my boss channel there's this synth power chain which is invented by me, and I put a version on this. This is a beta one, so yeah, there are tons of effects next to each other that give sound more power, and it doesn't change any character of the sound, so that's why I call it power. I use it a lot. And there's this EQ which makes it just make a smiley EQ. I did create that. And there's this utility after that. There's this EPI compressor, and then compressor again. If you are kind of familiar with my work, if you don't know how I did this because it sounds maybe stupid to put two compressors next to each other, go and check out my EQ versus compressor. Should I use EQ or compressor? And then there is this visual mix which I add boost 5 decibel over 75 hertz and limiter. That's all. I don't know why I add this endless smile, maybe because I try to change the sound. Okay, I guess that's it, and I hope you get something. I hope you find out something. I'm not gonna recreate the sound in this part. That wasn't my point, but in the next part maybe I'm going to recreate something like this, maybe more easier because it's way more difficult and way more complicated, but I'm going to create those kind of other kind of sounds that Mick already used, maybe recreating one of his sounds, maybe create some song with his sound or something like that. But next part I'm going to recreate something like this without just ignoring these feedback things. But you know, the good thing about these feedbacks is you can save them and use them anytime that you want, because they're awesome. I resampled this and then I keep them on my hard disk because they're kind of a good effects, right? That's the point. And yes, that's it. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you very soon. Thanks for watching. Peace.